What's up YouTube? It's Ben, and in this video we're going to talk about good clients and bad clients. Hey guys, so welcome if you're new to my channel, or welcome back if you're old to my channel. You get the idea. But anyways, I want to make sure that you're in my Facebook group. It's called Recruiter Empire. There are 10,000 recruiters in there. We put tons of material and content in the Facebook group. You definitely need to be there. Link in description to join the group. So just like anything in life, there are good and there are bad things that happen. There are also good business clients and bad business clients. So let's talk about in recruiting what a good client is and a bad client is. So I decided I'm going to start off just discussing what a good client and a good deal looks like. So we can go over all of that. Then we can go over the converse of that and talk about bad clients and bad deals. Take note that this is really important information because as you build a recruiting empire, you're going to want to know which deals to take and which clients to work with, because this stuff costs you time, money, energy, and all of that is incredibly precious for your business, but also just your life. This is so important that I want to start off by saying I would prefer to have one good client over 100 bad clients. All right, so when you're entering into your client acquisition mode and you're actually finding brand new clients, there are a few things that you need to look for that are going to throw up different flags for you. Yellow flags, green flags, or red flags. One of the biggest components of a client relationship for me personally, and I think for you, should be communication. The way that anyone communicates with you in life and in business is super important. So if they're lazy on their communication, meaning they delay like a week to get back to you, or if they're rude in any way about their communication, like really short answers, not answering your question, doing anything like that, or if their communication is just horrible and doesn't give you the information that you actually need, that right there puts up definitely a yellow flag, if not a red flag. Aside from communication, I want to go into demeanor. So when you interact with a prospect that could become a client, you want to identify right away whether this client has the right demeanor. Are they rude to you? Are they short? Are they going to be abrasive? Are they going to be demanding? These are all questions you should be asking yourself about whether or not I want to actually continue proceeding to work with this client. These are all questions that you should be asking yourself as to whether or not you want to even proceed working with this prospective client. One thing that I definitely want to make note of here is that business is business and it's ruthless, it's cutthroat. So a lot of times clients are going to be really abrasive. They're going to be straightforward, direct, and they're going to be the way they are, right? And we should be the same. Straightforward, direct, honest, transparent, no BS. So with that being said, you should have a little bit of thick skin here and understand the difference between someone actually being a rude client that you don't want to work with and someone just being simply direct with you. All right, so let's talk about terms. This is huge. Always. So when we get into terms, net collection, percentage fee, and guarantee period, that stuff is going to tell you a lot of information about whether or not you want to work with the client in the first place. One, from a negotiation standpoint, whether it's fair and equitable or not, and two, whether or not the client is just ridiculous and out of their gourd. For example, if a client asks you to charge 5% on a role that normally goes for 18%, you should probably just hang up the phone or close your computer or walk away. I mean, negotiation is negotiation, but not like that. Prospects that ask you for ridiculously low fees or incredibly extensively long guarantees or really long terms of payment, like 60 to 90 days out for like a logistics position, are just a no-go. That's a bad client, bad deal. You don't want to work with that client. Instead, you want to find clients that make good, fair, equitable terms with you. That would be a fair guarantee period, a fair percentage, and fair net terms. Everything makes sense. Everything is equitable to each person. Each person wins in the deal, and ultimately, it's a good relationship that could turn into recurring business, referrals, and all that good stuff. The key here is you're not gonna know about these things until you actually start engaging with your prospects. So that's why your reach out is so important on LinkedIn and cold email to getting to actually into these conversations. Then you'll find out what people's true colors are. Then you can walk away or stay in the deal. Like I said before, be cautious of that fine line of a client being a little bit too demanding, partially a little bit direct, but also just being down to business. So when we talk about interview logistics, for instance, right? How am I going to send people over? How would you like to interview them? Do you want 2 rounds, 1 round? How do you want this to happen? Whether or not they give you like a specific rubric on how they want to run interviews or not, you need to just identify, is this reasonable? That's a good question to ask on pretty much any of these. Is this a reasonable request? If it's unreasonable, then that identifies a bad client. Also, if the requests are simply unattainable, right? So we talked about highly demanding clients. If these requests are unattainable, that also would give you a huge red flag. You wouldn't want to work with that client. Really, really good clients for you to work with are clients that have lots of volume for you. So they've got a lot of open positions that you can fill. Like we're talking about 5 or 10 roles, and maybe even more after you fill those. Manufacturing facilities, logistics houses, anything like that, or even transportation where they might need 10, 15 drivers. That's a really, really good deal. Volume is always great. So long as the client gives you fair terms, volume deals are an excellent client to go with. Something to keep in mind as you go through the process of identifying who's a good client, who's a bad client, is the relationship factor. Are you able to actually vibe and build a relationship, like a genuine relationship with the hiring manager when you start interacting with them? If you are, that's really, really good. That's a good sign. If it's rusty, if it's awkward, if it's weird, that's not a great sign, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to take on that client. I mean, let's face it, some people are different. People are people, right? And they're completely unpredictable. So you might be best friends with a client, and you might be just acquaintances and business partners with another client. Keep a really, really good eye on how your clients treat your candidates. So just like you go to a restaurant and if you're on a date, right, the other person treating the server really badly is a bad sign. It tells a lot about that person. Just like your client treating a candidate. So anytime you have an interview happen, find out and get feedback, right? Get a full briefing on what was asked, how it went, and what they felt about the client. You'll get tons of intel on how the client interacted with your candidate. It might be really, really good. It could have been terrible. Either way, you get tons of benefit by briefing your candidate from what the interview was. 1, you get all of that information of what questions were asked so that your next candidate is fully ready to answer those questions in the right way. And 2, you find out, of course, if it's actually a bad client and they're treating your candidates really, really badly and it's not good interviews. It's just something that you probably don't want to even waste any more ad spend on, let alone sending more candidates in for interviews to waste anyone's time. Something critical to remember is that you choose your clients do not choose you. So with that leverage, you ultimately get to decide who you work with and who you don't. So being able to identify really good clients with good deals and bad clients with terrible deals, and ultimately having the leverage to work with who you want, makes it a win-win situation pretty much for everyone, but definitely you. All right, guys, so if you got any value out of this video, please go ahead and tap that thumbs up button. Make sure that you're in our Facebook group, link in description again, and hit that subscribe button if you're not already. Until next time.